Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Straight Talk for the Soul series, your vibrational, multidimensional vitamin for the body, mind, and spirit. I'm Carrie Murphy, your host, creator, and founder of this global broadcast and brilliant community of light. I want to extend a bright and beautiful good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you tuning in from around the world. Welcome home, everybody. This is a sacred space. It is a sanctuary for you to get empowered, to get uplifted, cosmically inspired, and to feel fully supported and loved during these powerfully illuminating times of change and transition on our planet. I want to ask my favorite question. What is the best that could happen today? Well, today my beautiful, amazing, incredible soul sister, Lorie Ladd, joins me as my co-creative partner. We're going to talk about navigating this shift into 5D consciousness. We'll also talk about connecting with your family of light, because now is the time, and they are here. They are ready. It's going to be a party today. So, wow. Trust and know that brilliant, bountiful blessings are on their way to you. Just relax and breathe, open, and please receive. We invite you to subscribe to this show if you haven't already. It's a free platform. Access it at straighttalkforthesoul.com. You can also listen to all of our replays on iTunes and YouTube and connect with us further in our private Facebook group or on Instagram. Just enter in Straight Talk for the Soul or Straight Talk with Carrie or Carrie L. Murphy to find me personally. Now, my intention with our gathering today is for love and joy and soulfully soothing energy to just flow through my voice with grace and ease. We're also welcoming and inviting in the highest divine support and cosmic support and participation throughout our time together. Please write in and let Lorie and myself know how you're doing throughout the show. You can ask your questions there in the webcast. I'll be checking in, and we would love to hear from you. We are excited to come together with all of you during this time. This is a cosmic consciousness clearing and cleansing taking place on our planet. It is really a dissolving of density and a grand purging and purification that's unfolding in every new moment. So it can be very exciting. This process can also be as lengthy and exhaustive and consistently intense if we allow it to be that way. So we're going to talk about just easing ourselves, through this transition, because it can be liberating, it can be gratifying and expansive if we allow for that. So we have the option of navigating this transition as liquid light. We have the option of flowing through and with, rather than against the wide waves of frequency in a very graceful, fluid manner. And we also have the option of giving ourselves permission to ride the waves of uncertainty, or even agitation, to emerge more clear and free. And one thing that came in strongly this morning was it's important to remind ourselves of the opportunity to experience a state of fluidity within the flavors of collective choices out there, because we're all kind of navigating this a little bit differently. So let's just stay in our own energetic lane, focus on the frequencies that we want to co-create to create this new earth. So, and also compassionate neutrality. I was writing about that this morning. So lots to talk about with Lorie. She is an ascension teacher. Many of you know her. She's one of my favorite people on the planet. She's a multidimensional channel as well. She reconnects you to your guides and family of light, and wow, are they here today. And they're here to assist us in the remembrance of who we are, why we're here. Lorie provides tools and guidance, moving you into your multidimensionality. She teaches on ascension, multidimensional beings, and transitioning into 5D consciousness. She takes the complexity of ascension and grounds it into simple and easy, digestible concepts, and takes the complexity of ascension and she grounds it into these, if you watch her on YouTube, you listen to her, you know that she's just straight about it. She's like straight talk for the soul, embodied. So anyway, we're going to do that today, and we're going to have a light party with our family of light. So please join me. Let's get started. Join me in extending waves and waves of love and joy and light to Lorie as I welcome her to the show. You ready to party, my friend?
I am ready. Welcome. Thank you for having me, Carrie. It feels so good to be here right now. Oh, my goodness.
I know. We are surrounded and enveloped in light, right?
Oh, my God. I have my eyes closed right now, and I'm like kind of looking over it in your space, and I can see all these beings surrounding you, and I'm like, wow, they're around every one of us right now that's listening to this, live or on the replay. Literally, all of our spaces are just, they're just like, they're around every one of us right now. It's just so magical and such a gift. I wish everybody could see what I can see. Maybe you can.
Hopefully they can feel it. If nothing else, just feel the support, feel the love. We were laughing before we went live, everybody, like we should rename the title of the show today with Party with the Light Beings, because they are. If you guys have heard Lorie and myself ever over the last 4 or 5 years, we tend to laugh a lot together, so forgive us if we get into like these giggle fests, because it happens. So we told each other we're going to try to stay grounded here, but laughter is good for the soul right now during this time of great awakening.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's talk about the great awakening taking place, Lorie. I mean, come on, this is like,
oh my Lord.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. I mean, so, you know, I connect with the Galactic Federation of Light every single day. And I've been connecting with them every morning since the moment this sort of massive purging began and unraveled for us. And the thing they are constantly reminding me and all of us is that this isn't a bad thing, right? So this isn't it can feel very chaotic and challenging, but it is the most miraculous and beautiful shift in our collective consciousness that we have finally been able to get ourselves to receive and ground into. And it's the first massive physical purging of collective consciousness. So it's the collective shifting, right? So the earth shifts, our individual human body shifts, and then the collective shift, like a 1, 2, 3. And they're all doing it together, but it's the collective purging that happens third, right? So the earth has to be ready, our human body has to be ready, and then the collective begins to purge. And that's really why we are here in human form as light workers and way showers, is to be able to hold our light, right, during this massive chaotic purging. That's that's why we've been doing all this work for so long. It's like, oh, now it's coming to fruition. Now we're actually on the ground. We're the ground crew. And we're like, oh, we got to hold this down. We got to, now it's time to get to work.
Yes, and we can ride these waves they're change. It's waves of change, and it can feel a little scary at times, but if we ride the waves, the main word for me of the year has been fluidity, Lorie. We've got to flow with it so that we don't get stagnant or stuck in some of these denser energy waves that are occurring clearly, but it's such an opportunity. And I look at you every day so dedicated to your service work and everything you're doing. And I'm like your greatest cheerleader. I'm just always like, yes, Lorie, yes. It's so beautiful. So let's talk about your connection and all of our connections with these star beings, these families of light that we all have. Now, you have been in connection with star beings for some time now. How has it expanded during this year of 2020?
Well, it's so interesting because I'm with them all the time, and not just the Galactic Federation of Light, but so many different beings all day long. And they will not leave me alone. It's like I would be very annoying if I always was showing up on social media like, oh, here's what they said next. Because it's all the time their messages to us. Because right now, this is the now moment that we have been waiting for to remember and reconnect, not just to our own higher consciousness that chose to drop into body, but the consciousness that we were prior to dropping in, and all of the team that we pull together to be with us while we are in human form. And right now they are shaking us energetically awake to remember over and over and over, because right now is most probably one of the most intense moments that we have gone through in the most beautiful way, but also in the most holy cow, hold on to your seat, right? And so they're like, you guys, please. And one of the other things that they've been saying in the last week, which I found really exciting and not what I was expecting, was they want us to start to consciously go onto their ships, which in the dream state, Carrie, we are always going on their ships, always, right? We just don't remember. Mm-hmm. And there's so many things that happen when we go onto their ships in the etheric body. We remember, we receive, we learn, we get activated there. We see the earth, we see what's going on. And last week they were like, it's time the human starts to consciously do this as a bilocation kind of practice. And this makes us seem kind of like, what the hell is she talking about? But
not in this community.
It's going to become kind of common, like what we kind of are going to just start doing. Like, oh, yeah, I went to this ship yesterday. Oh, I went to this ship, like.
Or we see each other, like, oh, hey.
Hey, I saw you yesterday on the Lyran ship. Oh, my God. Yes.
Right.
I mean, that's really kind of what's happening. And this isn't to take away from our very human experience. It's only to amplify it and to assist us while we're in the human journey, right? It's not to bypass whatsoever.
Too. I feel you and I are doing that a lot together. But I think this is about making it even more conscious. For people to consciously begin to experience some of these things rather than just during sleep state or not remembering. It's like time to remember our multidimensionality and what's really going on and all the love and support that we have. Let's talk about who's with us, because remember right before you called in, I was writing down like, oh my God, just who all I was feeling around us. It's a freaking party. I mean,
it is a
goodness.
freaking party. Yeah. So I mean, listen, here's just who I'm just like, if I were to just pull names, right? We've got the Sirians, we've got the Arcturians, we've got the Alpha Centauri and the Beta Centauris that are here. We've got Andromeda, we've got Lyran, we've got Orion, we've got Cassiopeia. Yeah. We've got Palladians, we've got Lemurians and Atlanteans, which are not star beings, right? But they are our brothers and sisters in human form in 5D. We've got, you've got tons of mermaids and dolphins and dragons and you got all kinds of stuff hanging out as well. We've got the Anunnaki, which are very high frequency beings that are like, listen, we're not necessarily what everyone thinks we are. And there's other beings that are like, wait, we're here too. We don't have names. We're here too, right? Really high frequency, tall cylinder beings of light, right? One of the messages that is so important when we start connecting, they don't all have, first of all, none of them have names, right? We give them names.
Right.
But thousands of them don't have names. It's about just connecting to their energy, not trying to figure out the names, even though that's so hard for the third dimension human, right? We're like, wait, what's their name? There's also a bunch of hybrids. There's hybrid children around a lot of you guys right now. There's hybrid beings. And, if you're from the hybrid sort of collective, it's a very gentle reconnection, because the third dimensional mind is going to kind of be like, what? Confused, nervous, so they're very gentle, but they're very firm in saying, let's go, let's do this. And none of you on the call live or on the replay are blocked. Mm-hmm. You're not blocked, right? There's this idea that we're blocked, or we have more clearing to do, or we can't see. It's not about physical seeing. It's about getting into the body, which many of us have a challenge with perhaps, right? So you find the breath anchoring you into your body, and you just rest. You imagine you're like this buoy, right? You were talking about being fluid, just being a buoy in the ocean, right? And you're just like, I'm in this ocean full of multidimensional beings, including myself, and including the external consciousness out there. And I'm going to just remember that I know how to feel these beings. I know how to. I just forgot. And it's a remembrance. I'm a higher consciousness in my body. I've got to remember that. These beings are frequency first. We try to see them, and then there's a block. And then we get upset with ourselves. We get frustrated. We get angry. We stop. So it's not about physical seeing. It's about energetically remembering and reconnecting and having compassion for ourselves as we begin to. But I promise you, and you can feel it, Carrie. I'm sure so many of you can. They are all around you right now. All around you. You just drop into the body.
There are a lot of angelics as well. The Elohim here, avatars, they're archangels. They're
masters.
It's so loving. I mean, it's beyond words loving. And it's so interesting as I'm hearing you speak, Lorie, and I'm looking around, at the things that I've been painting, all these colors, and they're just frequency waves. But some of them actually represent some of these collectives or some of these. As I'm looking at them now, it's like they're telling me that, which is really interesting. I hadn't thought of it quite in that way. But it is important for all of us to realize that it's as simple as calling upon them to connect. And I want you to talk about that a little bit more, because it's not just for a special few. And we're all intended to do this. So any tips, tools, ways that you can suggest that people can use to begin connecting on their own?
Well, yeah, let's just do it right now, right?
Okay,
so
then.
It's not hard, right? So there's a massive portal open right now. When we come together in a group, or when I bring myself as the sort of like bridge, here we go, they're going to show up in a more potent way for us. So if you are listening to this, take a seat. You probably are already sitting, but if you're driving, please don't do this. Or you can do it, actually. Just keep your eyes open. So let's drop ourselves into our body. Just close our eyes for a moment and just relax. Take a deep breath in and out through your nose to just drop into your body. Drop your shoulders. Get real present with the now. And if there's a lot of noise going on around you, just come back to this moment in this interview and try it again. But just drop for a moment. Let everything go. Just get real present and feel the breath. So feel that expansion and contraction in your body. The first thing you want to do when you're connecting, you want to stop everything and you want to just feel the breath. And then what you want to do is you want to start to either call them into your space. So you can say, I'm calling in my family of light. I'm calling in my galactic team. I'm calling in the angelic realms. I'm calling in the ascended masters. I'm calling in the beings that are working with me, and always of the highest light, right? For my highest good. And then you just sit and you listen to your ego and mind, because they're always going to be there. But you recognize and remember and know that they're right here. The second you sit, bring yourself into your body and invite them in. You just allow yourself to sort of feel any tiny little things you may feel. Maybe there's just a lot of light moving around, different colors. Maybe you start to feel somebody standing to the right or the left of you or in front of you. It's going to be very dark, right? Because we're in a higher dimensional realm, so it looks like a dream state. So you have to start to navigate through that dimension, and it's dark. But there's beings with you. There's higher dimensional consciousnesses right now around you. So it's like you have to learn how to see through that darkness. And you feel it. But you got to stay in the body. The body is the energetic vessel that allows you to feel everything. So you're always breathing in and out through that nose, feeling the expansion and contraction within your body. And it's a practice. And you just do that all the time. You can also open up your crown. It's always nice to open up that seventh energy center. But when you do that, stay in your body, right? Stay with your breath. When you open up your crown chakra, it really allows yourself to say, I'm open, let's go, who's here, let's connect. Because telepathically, the way you communicate with other energetic beings is right through that channel. Imagine an energetic being in front of you, and you're an energetic being, and you start to connect energetically, and it just moves right through your channel, and you start to feel something or hear something, see something. And that's how you do it in the beginning.
Yeah, there's so many different, it's just feel whatever you're feeling. And sometimes, this time for me when you just did that, in addition to what all the other party friends that were here, I felt like on my right shoulder, like a ball, a warm ball. Like it was just warm energy. It's kind of like sitting on my right shoulder. Not sure what it is. It feels nice and warm. I don't know. So somebody else joined the party. I have no idea what that is, but welcome. It feels, like you said, when you invite in all the benevolent beings of light who are here to support our highest expression and embodiment of the divine. Yeah, it's interesting to see who shows up now. You know, there's so many that want to assist. And so when we're talking about this shift and navigating this shift with all of this divine support and help into 5D consciousness, you have done numerous talks, videos, workshops, things like that about this. But what feels important to share with this audience about, you know, what's really happening with regard to us, this awakening and us shifting into 5D consciousness?
Okay, such a good question, because I was telepathically hoping you were going to guide us right into this, and you did. Yay, we're so into it.
Yay us.
Okay, yay us. We get an A. Okay. So here's what's really
sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Here's a really powerful, important tool and reminder as we start to now we've been in quarantine for a while. We've been watching this density explode in the external collective, meaning we're watching sort of the unraveling of really not bad or lower, but just lower energy consciousness is coming up, right? Fear-based consciousness is coming up, paradigms, programs, agendas, and things like that, right? And there's also massive duality playing out, right? And polarities. And so our role, because you, the listener right now, you have, whether you believe this or not, you have done a tremendous amount of internal work in order to be able to step out into this new world that is unraveling and be able to hold your center. And that is what we are practicing. How do I, as an awakened, consciously ascending, light being in human form, higher consciousness in human form, soul in human form, start to navigate what looks like massive chaos, and how do I stand in the midst of it, continuing to hold my sovereignty, my truth, my knowingness, right? Because it's inevitable that we will be pulled like magnets to these two very polar, dualistic sort of sides unraveling, right? And so our role and job is to continue to practice bringing ourselves back to that center focus point, that buoy where you're anchored in, right? And you're watching everything unravel. You're allowing yourself to feel whatever you feel around it, right? Maybe you play in it, maybe you don't, but you give yourself permission to feel whatever you're feeling, and then you go, oh, wait a second, what's my sovereign space? Hold on a second, what's all this work that I've been doing for so long? Wait a second, I'm shifting into higher states of consciousness. Hold on, let me remember, because it is very easy for us to go, get sucked, right? Especially if you are going to the grocery store, the gas station, the post office, you know, the beaches, wherever you may go right now, you better be prepared to understand sovereignty like you never have before.
Right.
Because we are literally learning how to walk like Jesus walked. Seriously. We are learning how to be masters in physical form in the midst of chaos as we shift the entire planet, right? We're moving them into this new earth field, right? We don't jump and leave the collective. We're like, oh, we don't get to leave? No. We are pulling the collective. That's why we're here. So we have to stand and watch it. We have to stand and hold our sovereignty and our light. And we have to practice over and over and over. Like, this is when the rubber hits the road, right? It's like, oh my God. Like, because have you ever seen a time on the earth plane, Carrie, where it's been so polar, like so much duality?
I mean, it's where we have to really practice that compassionate neutrality for ourselves, for others, and be condemnation free as much as possible. And, you know, like I mentioned before, kind of stay in our own energetic lane. Just kind of stay in your lane, focus on the frequencies we want to participate in. And you've spoken about neutrality quite a bit, you know. It's it's huge. It's how we navigate through this. And stay in a relatively joyful state as often as possible. That doesn't mean we don't have the waves that we all have the waves of the human waves of fear, anger, whatever. But if we can just ride them, we can emerge pretty quickly stronger, more clear than ever. And also, with that compassionate neutrality, it's also deciding to open up and welcome and feel the loving, supportive energies of our families of light, of one another, our soul families here on the planet, and communities like this and communities like you have created, Lorie. That's how we harmonize our way through this adventure. That's where it becomes an adventure.
We need we need so much support every day. I mean, we need reminders all day long. Remind me again of what I'm doing. Remind me again of who I am. Remind me. And that is one of the reasons why these beings that are surrounding us are like, please, let's start
Let us help you.
Connecting. Yeah, come up to these ships. Look down at the earth every day, and even in that one quick moment that you bilocate up onto the ship, even if it's for 5 minutes, it's 5 minutes where you're like, oh yeah, this isn't the only reality, the third dimension. My human journey isn't the only reality, right? There is a much larger picture playing out, and it is so powerful to hold that in the moments that you can hold it throughout your human journey, right? We can't always hold that, right? Like, you're going to have very human experiences that are going to feel intense and challenging and whatever that may be, and you're not going to want to go up on a damn spaceship and be there, right? But the more we can, the more we do, the more we remember that what we're seeing through our third dimensional physical lens, our eyes, is not the only reality. And you receive the reminders, the hits of like, oh yeah, this is all about remembering who we are, what we're doing here. why we're in human form, and this is all okay, right? Neutrality is a huge practice.
Yes.
Over and over and over again. Because there are things that you can hold neutrality around and things that you can't yet. And that's okay. Having compassion for ourselves as we are learning how to be this higher dimensional consciousness, this 5D consciousness over and over and over. We are practicing while we are standing in a third dimensional reality. Do you know how hard that is? I mean, do you guys realize how challenging it is to do what we are doing? Okay, I want you to imagine. You are in like a fishbowl right now, right? And the fishbowl is the third dimensional matrix with all of the intense consciousness externally, and you're this little fish in there, right? But let's pretend the fish can't breathe, right? And so you've got this straw that leads you out to where the air is, where you can breathe, right? Mm-hmm. And let's imagine that air is the 5D consciousness that you are learning how to be over and over and over again, right? So you're stuck in this kind of dense world where it's really hard to breathe, and you've got this straw leading you to that 5D consciousness that you're practicing so much to just be. You're just being it over and over and over again. And it's breathing into you who you are and how to be, right? And the more you do that, the easier it becomes, the more you forget that this is suffocating you in some way, right? And that this 5D consciousness that you are learning to be and hold, this new earth that you are learning to embrace and ground in, will become natural. It will be your now moment. You won't realize that there's this straw and you're grasping for air, right? You'll be all of it in this one now moment, in this bowl, right? Mm-hmm. But it's intense. Mm-hmm. It's massively intense because we don't escape this matrix, this third dimensional matrix. We can't escape it.
Right. Yeah, I was just feeling that kind of feeling of coming up for air, in those moments, and it feels so good. It's like, freedom, the self-selected freedom, feels so good.
Yeah. And yet here we are in that fishbowl. We have to integrate it all and be able to breathe in the fishbowl. Yes. Instead of wanting to get out of the fishbowl, right? It's like, oh no, I can swim in the fishbowl. Mm-hmm. And with this beautiful ability to breathe and watch it all, and that's what we're practicing.
Right.
We don't get caught up in it.
Yes. There are a lot of people who've written in, so I want to touch on some of the questions that have come in. A lot of people clearly... Vision. Huh? Oh, yeah.
That was a random vision.
I enjoyed it. It was helpful.
Okay, good.
Okay. A lot of questions from people. A lot of people love you, clearly, as I do. Okay, where do I want to go here? A lot of people have been with us since we started doing interviews together. And I'm reading quite a few people who got to know you from the first time you were on the show, however many years ago that was. And they're so excited that we're back. So to all of you who said that, we are too. We are too.
Yay.
Okay.
4 years ago.
I think it was 4 years ago. Yep. And look at us now. Okay. Olga wrote in and she said, "Dearest Lorie, every day now starts with your new message on YouTube. It becomes an indispensable part of my life, and I consider you my good, beloved friend." That's super sweet. Your work is highly appreciated. She said, I have heavy blood pressure attacks that are somehow coincide with the Schumann resonance changes. It seems that I have become very sensitive to EMF. What would you recommend to do to ease the suffering?
Okay. Olga. And everybody listening. When we have physical experiences, whether there's discomfort, disease, whatever it may be, the first and most important thing that we have to look at is the way we are framing it. Right? So the end of the question said, how do I end the suffering, or how do I, Olga, the first thing I want to suggest or recommend is, and this is for everyone, everything is energy, right? So the blood pressure is your energetic body, your super sensitive energetic body responding to the high frequency energetic body of the earth plane. So first of all, can we reframe the medical dictionary? Because what happens is when we use the terms that the medical field gives us, which makes sense, I get it, it's fabulous, it's perfect. But when we use those terms to label our experiences, we are not giving ourselves the credit for what's actually happening, which is that you are energetically shifting frequencies. And because we don't quite have words for that, we label it based on what the medical dictionary tells us. And when that happens, then we buy into whatever program or paradigm that medical word has. And then we get sucked into the fact that we're suffering or we're this or we're that, right? So, Olga and anyone else that this resonates with, start to look at the high blood pressure from the perspective of energy. And when you start to feel your body going into that hyper state, which I guarantee you can probably feel, you probably feel something happening inside your body. What do you think in your head? What are the thoughts? What are you saying to yourself? And instead of saying compassion and love, this is just a now moment, it's fleeting, my energetic body is shifting. Okay, so what you're doing is you're starting to look at the physical experience from the higher consciousness that you are. Okay, and that your body knows how to maneuver this. This is really challenging, right? Because the physical body shifts are the hardest shifts, the diseases, the discomforts, the ailments, because we're so used to playing victim to them, like they are us, and they're not, especially if you're consciously ascending. You want to look at the way you're framing it, what words you're using. You want to look at it as energy. You want to see it from the higher consciousness that you are, the soul, the spirit, the light. And you want to listen to your body. Because, Olga, I guarantee you can feel when your body starts to go into those states. We are shifting into 5D humans. We're literally moving from carbon to crystal. It's going to take a while, but that's what's happening, right? And so we have to start to learn how to release through our thoughts the physical disease and ailments, which is not easy. Because when I was sitting and working on my eating disorder sort of thoughts that I have, right? These thoughts of like, oh, you've got to exercise, or oh, you've got to only eat these certain things, or this like restrictive behavior and thoughts, right? Jesus said to me, he came to me one day and he said, listen, you can do all the work you want energetically in your body, but if you don't believe, if you don't change your thoughts, nothing's going to happen. Mm-hmm. He said that. And so we have to change our thoughts. We have to change the thoughts and the words that we use around the thoughts with our bodies, with our illness, with our disease, with anything. Because those, believe it or not, are more powerful than any energetic shift. Mm-hmm. They will pull us back down. The thoughts will pull us back down.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like you using the word shift, or I've frequently been using the word transition that we're in rather than, you know, some of the other harsher words for what we're going through. The same goes for our bodies and everything else. And that was an important thing to address because there were quite a few questions about people they're tired of suffering. So, and that's a strong, heavy word. And so that clearly came up for a reason. I think a lot of people are feeling that way. So, Olga, I hope that you heard that. And I want to go to another question. Lindsay She said, how important is it to explicitly say no as a sovereign being to things like vaccines? Or can we just choose a timeline without them?
It's so funny. I'm laughing because my guys are like, you know, you're going to constantly have to address this. And I'm like, God dang it. Because
I know, it's a tough one to address.
I've always liked to kind of stay in the background. And ever since this first initial physical purging, it was like, oh, Lorie, it's time that you get to work. You now have to speak on all the things that you never wanted to speak about, right? Mm-hmm. So here's the first thing I want to address. There is no right or wrong. And this is a very challenging piece for people to understand. Right. There's no right or wrong. Right.
Right.
Right? Exactly, Lorie. You're so right. Understanding truths right now. First of all, let's remember, you guys, what's happening here. We're learning how to be 5D. Okay? Remember this. So everything that we are doing, experiencing, and having in our reality is teaching us how to be 5D consciousness, right? That's why you're on the earth plane. And it's not just to be 5D consciousness. It's to literally shift the collective. Believe it or not, that's why you're here and that's what you're doing. So when you have a question around how do I say no or how do I choose a different timeline around vaccines, around the 5G stuff, around anything, our rights being taken away, the first thing we want to start to hold, if you can I look at this through a neutral lens? Okay, which means there are multiple ways that you can see this. There's multiple truths in this vaccine, right? Mm-hmm. And I get to have my truth around it, what I believe, what my sovereign field says, which is that I don't resonate with that, right? So your sovereignty is your sovereign field, your energetic frequency that dictates how you respond energetically to the external energetic world. And when you bump up against the vaccine paradigm, your energetic field is going to tell you how you resonate with it. It's not right or wrong. It's an energetic response. Okay? So first, what was her name, Elizabeth?
Let me go back and find it. Lindsay.
Lindsay. You want to start to see it as a paradigm and as an energetic frequency first, right? You can say no to it, but you don't need to say no to it. Meaning, when we honor our sovereignty, right? Our sovereignty is, what is my truth? What is my frequency? What is my vibration? What do I resonate with or am I dissonant with? Which means when I tap up against it, I pull away. It's like, oh, no, right? So the vaccine, you're like, oh, no. There's no resonance there, right? There isn't necessarily a need to say no to it if you already know it's a no, right? Like, it's a no because you're not vibrating. Now, if you have, so you hold that field. If you have to, here's the other thing, you guys. Until it's in your now moment of somebody standing there injecting you with the vaccine, we need to stay present, right? So let's stay present with where we are until the moment that you are forced to perhaps receive some sort of vaccine. And in that now moment, you get to stand in your sovereign field and you get to experience this human journey. If you have the ability through this governmental system to turn away and walk away, that's what you're going to do. If you don't have that option, right, and you are, quote unquote, forced to have the vaccine, then you get to be sovereign and choose how you're going to experience that now moment. Okay? Which means that you are going to remember this is another next leveling up. People are not necessarily going to be able to maybe hold this, but maybe they can. When you're vibrating at a higher frequency, and a higher frequency, and a higher frequency, guess what? Those external stuff, they don't impact you. The vaccine doesn't impact you energetically. The 5G, EMG stuff, it doesn't energetically impact you.
And because you're not resisting it.
You're not resisting it, and your body's holding higher frequencies of light. You're literally holding higher frequencies of light. And what are your thoughts around it?
Exactly. And, you know, Lorie, I mean, it's an individual experience because the bottom line is what choice brings you the most comfort and relief personally. And if that's get it, get it. If that's don't get it, don't get it. And that's where we have to be very neutral and compassionate, even with family members, especially, who have different thoughts and ideas about a lot of the things that are going on. Just let them know there is no right or wrong, like you mentioned. Whatever choice brings you the most comfort, serenity, harmony, and relief, make that choice. And, sovereignty doesn't include resistance. Sovereignty is just you flow with what feels best for you. When that resistance comes into play, we're not free anymore because we're so. Yeah,
and one more thing.
Yeah, go ahead, sweetie.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. No, you
go.
I
was going to say you go. What I was going to say was when feel into the energy of saying no, and then feel into the energy of just being in your knowingness. Meaning, you're going to have a different energetic feeling when you say, "I'm saying no to this." Right? There's a force or a push against. As opposed to, I'm just vibrating in my frequency. It's more graceful, there's ease, there's flow, right? I'm just in my energetic field, and that doesn't feel right, so I'm going to choose not to experience that. Instead of, I'm standing here and I'm saying no to that. Absolutely not. You do not have the right to do that, right? It's a different energy. There's no right or wrong around it, but it's a different energy. So just feel the energy of you. It's all about energy. And if you remember that every human body has a higher consciousness in it, every human body is energy, and every human body naturally responds to external situations differently, right?
Yes.
So that's just how it works. So why are we going to say one person's wrong and the other's right? It's about their energetic field. So we're telling them that their energy is wrong. Let's break it down even more. It's about energy, right? It doesn't help necessarily maybe, but it does. It's a different perspective.
Neutrality is a beautiful thing. And, we can always ask, too, is this choice, I love what you just said. What does it feel like when you're saying no to something or you're wrong or no? What that does is it halts the flow of energy. So if we can ask, does this choice halt the flow of harmony? Because our goal and intention is really to just be in this fluid state of harmony as often as possible. And if a choice is causing us to feel rigid or stuck, or if it tenses us up, we don't have to do that to ourselves. It's not necessary.
Especially if you realize you're in sovereignty, you're actually safe. So there's this feeling of not being safe externally, right? Like this is going to harm me or this is going to do something to me. And part of the understanding sovereignty is that you're actually safe and held in your energetic field. And what you're afraid of or feeling fear from is an external consciousness or paradigm that's real, right? But can you start practicing feeling safe in a now moment within your sovereign field over and over and over again? When you practice this, I promise you'll start to experience these really intense paradigms with more ease, like you're talking about, because you're going to understand it doesn't matter what is happening externally. I'm safe and held in my sovereign field over and over and over and over. It's a practice.
Thank you for that. And thank you for all of these beautiful questions, because they elicit a flow of energy and information, that's coming from all of these cosmic light beings that are with us today, that are really wanting us to feel safe and to choose safety. It's a choice to feel that. Okay. I want to read Aoife. Her name is Aoife. She says, recently started watching your videos and love them. My question is, I'm aware that I am surrounded by light beings and I'm capable of connecting with them, but I don't seem to be able to trust myself enough to actually feel the connection or hear the messages. How do I break this disconnect? Let's talk about that, and then we're going to talk about the offer you created so people can do exactly this, and then we'll take some more questions.
Okay, this is perfect. So Aoife, I was tapping into your, I was looking into your field and listening to what your guides were saying as you were talking. And you're right, they're all around you and you can feel them. So here's what's going on. And this is very common, it's very normal. And this either resonates or doesn't resonate, so take it or leave it. The seventh energy center is pretty shut tight energetically. What does that mean? It means you've had lifetimes in other human forms where you've been open and you've been receptive, and it may have been in times where there were darker energies on the planet infiltrating human forms and giving the human pretty intense experiences that weren't fun. And so what happens when we drop back into the body is we start to remember that and we're like, oh, hell no, and we keep that energy center shut. Right? Mm-hmm. And so we forget, and now we're remembering. And so what's the great thing about this, Aoife, is that you're feeling them energetically because they're all around you and your body is super turned on, right? You're in your body and you can feel this vibration. So now let's just open up your crown. So if you're listening right now, and all of you can do this, you want to ground into your body with your breath. Aoife, you're already doing that. But ground into your body with your breath, eyes are closed, and the first thing you want to say is, I'm opening up my seventh energy center. And if there is hesitation, if there is nervousness, right, a little bit of like, ooh, what does that actually mean, and am I actually safe? I also want you to state that I am safe and sovereign, and I can open up my seventh energetic, I can open up my seventh energetic field and be safe. Only the highest vibrational beings of light for my highest good are entering into my field, entering into my space, and are with me right now. Because what happens when we start to connect, we want it so badly, and yet when we start doing it, there's a little bit of a fear of what if, right? It's either conscious or unconscious, okay? So we want to open up that seventh energy center, knowing that we're safe, and when you start to open that up, I can promise you, as long as you stay in the body, that you will have a completely different experience. And invite them to move closer to your physical body, stand next to me, stand in front of me, and you'll start to experience them in a much more palpable way. You're opening that channel. You're saying, I know and I remember that I'm safe and I'm sovereign and I am designed to receive inside this physical body. And it's okay if you have felt resistance, fear, blocked, whatever the word may be. It's because you've had other lifetimes where you've been open and it hasn't been so fun. But you're safe now. This is the moment. This is the lifetime that we are designed to open completely and to stay open.
Yes. And have fun with our family of light.
Yes.
And take the fear out of it and replace it with fun.
Yep.
And
yeah.
That's what we want to do. And I'm really grateful, and I know there are a lot more questions, so we're going to get to some of those, but you were kind enough and to create an offering to really support people. And you went to Mount Shasta to create this, the perfect spot to create these audios for people to learn how to connect with their family of light. For those of you who may be new to the show, all of our beautiful speakers create offerings that will allow you to take what you've heard here a step further and expand upon the messages that you hear here on the show. So Lorie, and you can find them at straighttalkforthesoul.com. Click on the marketplace link and you will see Lorie's beautiful smiling face. Click on that and you will see what she created for this community. So Lorie, do you want to describe what you've included in here that's going to help people connect with their family of light?
Yes. So I was guided to go to Mount Shasta to do this. And I was guided to do this specific series. So I did a 3-part series, and then I did a 4-part series, and then I added a bonus. So the 3-part series is learning how to connect with your team, your family of light, your guides, whether it's the angelic realm, your ascended masters that are around you, your galactic team, your star family, whatever it is. This is going to take you step by step, opening up, learning, and receiving from them. How do I connect? How do I feel? How do I listen? How do I communicate? All of that. So there's an introduction. The first one is an introduction where I just kind of tell you how this whole series is going to work. We go into preparing for contact. So basically I show you what to do. Now listen, these are really my suggestions, right? So you can say, oh yeah, that resonates, or oh, I'm not going to do it that way. I like to do it this way better. But the reason I do it so specifically, which is, it's like I take you step by step, specifically, do this, do this, do this, do this, because it will absolutely work. It will work.
That's a good reason.
I promise you.
You've
right?
seen it work,
So,
yeah.
Yeah. So part one is getting into your body, how to prepare for contact. Part two is how to be the conductor. So a lot of times when we are learning how to connect with these beings, we don't remember how to do it, and so we kind of sit back and wait. Like, okay, now what happens? And you can't do that. You've got to engage and be the conductor. So I teach you in the meditation how to pull them closer to you, how to direct them, how to feel their energy, how to see them. I literally am like, okay, now do this, now do this, now do this, right? So it's really specific, and you learn how to dissect the energies in the room. And then the third part, I love the third part, because this is my favorite thing to do with people. I brought in, so we go into a guided meditation, and I brought in 3 different beings. I brought in, gosh, I hope I can remember who I brought in.
Jesus,
a
Palladian,
I brought in
and an
Jesus,
angel.
Yes, thank you. Yes, and so the reason I love to do this is because all of you have the ability to feel these different frequencies, these different beings. Okay, you just don't remember, or maybe you haven't had the opportunity to. I bring Jesus right in front of you. Then I bring the angel in front of you. And then I bring the Palladian in front of you. And you get to not only feel their energy, but you feel the difference between them. And why is this so important? Because when you start practicing feeling the beings around you, you will begin to remember, oh, that's what an ascended master felt like. Oh, that's what an angel felt like. Oh, that's what a galactic being felt like, right? Because they're all different frequencies. It's a fabulous exercise.
Yes.
I love it.
It's so important to distinguish between the different vibrations, the different frequencies, and that is an excellent way to have people gain confidence in doing just that, to introduce them through this journey to Jesus, to a Palladian, because their different energies are all so beautiful but unique. And I want to add that in that part 2, the conductor one, that it's really to help them communicate and create a dialogue. Because like you said, a lot of times, I think, you invite them in and then they just wait for the beings to talk to them, as opposed to communicating and creating a dialogue. So that is really important to highlight there. So there are those 3 different recorded meditations, and then you've also included Experience Your Light. This is another group of meditations, an additional 4 guided meditations.
Yes. Now these were guided. These were told for me to do because of what we're experiencing and navigating right now, and what we will continue to be navigating, right? Because it's intense out there. We need as much assistance as we can possibly get, including light baths, including whatever it may be, right? So they told me you're going to do 4 specific meditations that are going to assist the human experience and the higher consciousness in the human body in sort of navigating the now collective purge. The first one is a light bath. And so it's a 17-minute meditation, and it's just a beautiful light bath where you are just bathed. Oh my God, absolutely. The Galactic Federation of Light are like, okay, sit in this chair today because you're going to get your daily light bath. And I'm like, oh my God, this feels so good. Thank you. The second one is clearing your energetic field. So again, super powerful and important to kind of understand, how do I clear my energetic field after I just went out in all that density, right? Remember the fishbowl, and you're in swimming in it, right? And so it's important to know, how do I clear it? And kind of just get a wash around that energetic field. The third is increasing the frequency in your body. this is fabulous because it doesn't take you out of your human journey. It doesn't make you bypass any experience. What it does is it brings you into the light of who you are. It brings you into the light within your body. So this is less about, oh, I want to feel these high frequencies, even though the human may think that. It's actually more about, oh, I'm actually energy in my body. And this is how you feel it. This is how you practice playing with it and understanding, oh, I actually am light. Oh, I am energy, right? You get to really palpably, physically feel it. So there's that one. And then the last one is connect into your higher consciousness. Now, I don't remember that one at all. I don't remember even doing that one. Wow.
Well, I can read what you wrote about it. You said learn how to move yourself into higher consciousness, experience and sit with the light that you are in physical form, remember who you are and why you are in physical form.
Yes, thank you.
Does that ring a bell?
Yes. A lot of times when I do these, I'm like in an altered state. So I'm
absolutely.
like, wait, what did we do? Okay, this one is really powerful because what they did was they merged us and brought us straight into the higher consciousness that you are, or the soul, the aspect of you that literally dropped into the physical form, right? And the aspect of you that said, oh, I think it'll be a great idea to go back down into the human form this lifetime, right? That aspect of you, that's the aspect you connect to in this meditation. And it's powerful. And the reason it's so important is because, again, it's a reminder. It's a remembrance. And the more you can remember the higher consciousness that you are in physical form, the less you will attach to the emotions, thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors that you are having. Because you'll remember, wait, I am not that. That's right. That's right. I'm not those emotions. I'm not those thoughts. I'm not those behaviors. I'm not those beliefs. I'm just a fish in the fishbowl having those experiences.
Right. There's a lot for people to play with here and really explore. This is the time to do it, Lorie. I mean, I think that we have this time where we're home, and it's the time to really, really expand and develop some of these connections, not only with ourselves, our higher consciousness, but with our families of light. And so thank you for creating those. I know that you did that specifically for the show, and I appreciate it. And I want to mention you added a bonus, yes, learn to astral travel. What does that mean to you, astral traveling?
Well, because I see how all this is now kind of like, oh, now this is all making sense. So because they want us to travel up to their ships or perhaps maybe planets or other higher dimensional fields, we have to start to do this consciously, and we need to start to remember how to do this, right? And astral traveling is what we do in the dream state. Bilocation is what you do in the waking state. So we are learning to do what we do naturally in our dream state, which is move the etheric body outside the physical body and journey and play in all of these fun higher dimensional realms, including all the craft, all the planets, wherever you may go, right? Mm-hmm. And so we are now remembering and learning how to do that consciously while we are awake and sitting in the physical body. So you bilocate out and you go up to the ships, or you go to other planetary systems or other collective consciousnesses, and this webinar teaches you how to do it. So it's a really great sort of bonus to have, because not only is it time for us to really start to engage and connect, co-create, and remember with these beings every now moment, but it's also time to go up and to receive from that larger perspective. It's an even deeper remembrance. It's like, oh yeah, I'm not just human form. Oh yeah, I'm just having a human experience. But then you go on the ship and you're like, oh yeah, now I get it. It's like a completely different.
It's perfect because quite a few people had written in about that, because you had mentioned it earlier on in the show about, now's the time for us to go on these ships and be more conscious of it and have memory and join one another and have these kinds of cosmic parties together. And
totally,
this enables people to have a way to do that and to feel safe exploring these kinds of journeys and experiences. And so thank you. And that is part of it. And you were also kind enough to include a free offering. It's a journey with the blue avians. And that's included as well. And for those who aren't familiar with who the blue avians are, who are they?
Well, they are beings that have been with us for millions of years. They're higher dimensional light beings, and they look like they have form, but they also are bird-like. So they've got like wings, but they have like a really unique bird-like head, and they're often they are blue. They look very blue, but their sole purpose, or one of their sole purposes for connecting with us right now and being with us, is to assist us in healing our physical bodies. And so they can, Olga was talking about the high blood pressure, right? You sit with the blue avians every day for however long, and they will assist you in clearing it. However, of course, like Jesus said, if your thoughts are not part of that, then we will pull ourselves back. But the blue avians assist in healing the body, healing the physical body in any way, mentally, emotionally, physically. And they are powerful light workers. And they come straight into your space, straight into your room, and off they go to do their surgical light work on your body. They're beautiful. They're so easy to feel. They are one of the easiest higher dimensional light beings to feel. Next to like maybe Palladians are pretty easy to feel as well. But the blue avians, I mean, seriously, you can almost see them when they come into your space. And they do that so that they can be as effective as possible on your physical body. Meaning the more they are in the denser realms, fourth and third dimensional realms, the easier it is for them to pull, push, and do the work, because it is so dense what they're working with. So we see them a little bit easier. They move their vibration down into the low enough field where they can be effective, but not so low that they're standing right in front of us and freaking us out. Like, holy shit, there's a bird.
Well, Karen wrote in, she said, in Lorie's galactic ship meditation, I saw me, meaning herself, as a blue avian. She goes, I thought that was wild. I'll bet.
Oh, yeah. I can only imagine. Like, what?
Another good question here from Julie is, how do I find out which galactic family I come from?
Yeah. Great question. One of the most, other than what's my purpose, that's probably the most asked question. And the answer is, you have to surrender into asking and then letting the information come to you when it comes to you, right? So you've got to commit to opening yourself to them. You've got to commit to knowing that they're there. You've got to commit to asking over and over and over again, right? And then you've got to surrender into never knowing, okay? Meaning, I'm not going to attach myself to to something coming in. I'm going to just ask throughout my day, all day long, once a day, whenever it is, right? You just say out loud, hey, you guys, can you tell me who you are, right? Hey, can you tell me who you are, right? And then they will trickle in something for you to hold. Now, remember, most of them don't have names. One of the problems, right? And some of them have these hybrid names that you've never heard of. So a lot of times the human will doubt what they hear. They'll doubt what they are shown. Maybe they're shown a symbol. Maybe they're shown a number. Maybe they're shown an animal, right? So these beings are going to try to communicate with you as best they can from the higher dimensional realm using anything they can to click into you, who they are. And it might not be what you are expecting. So we've got to let go of any sort of expectation of like, oh, I'm going to hear, maybe it's the Palladians or the Sirians or the Arcturians, or it may or may not be, right? So we want to say, okay, every day I'm going to ask, every day I'm going to open to them, every day I'm going to invite them into my space, when I'm in the shower, when I'm in my car. You're always walking with them 24/7, and then throughout the day you're like, hey, can you remind me who you are? Like, what are you? What's your name? And then you just have fun with it, right? No expectation. And eventually, at some other now moment, something will drop in. You'll hear something. You'll be guided towards something. Somebody will talk to you about something. And when you know, let me tell you what it feels like. It feels like a click. Like a wait. That sounds familiar. Like something hit right there. That feels right. But here's the other thing. We're all connected to all of these beings. We're so familiar with them, right? So we may feel really connected to like 7 different ones. And if you're a hybrid, you may be connected to a couple of them. So it's a challenge to kind of really hone in on where you might be from. It's also not the most important piece, even though it feels like the most important piece. What's most important is just connecting to them energetically and not worrying so much about their names and who they are in terms of a label. It's really so much more important to just start the relationship, right? And forget about the name. Even though I understand that's really hard, you're blocking sometimes the actual connection when you're so focused on who are they. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yes. And that's a common question. I think quite a few people wrote in asking something similar to that. So definitely appreciate the question. And Lorie, I'm feeling inspired to take a few live callers. Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. *2 to raise your hand to be considered for that. Many of your hands are already up anyway. So I'm coming out there, just warning you, many of you who've had your hands up since the beginning of the show. Clear your voice. I may be coming to you. Okay, and we're kind of open. If you have a question about what we've been talking about, for Lorie, just let us know. Okay, the first person that I am going to is area code, let's see. I'm going to go to area code 832. 832, you're live.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, ladies. This is Deb.
Hi, Deb. How are you?
Hi. Good, thanks. Hey, I was wanting to ask Lorie, I channel, I get information from people, animals, all around. And then when I really reach in and sit and really get quiet with myself, and I even tried it while we were on this call, sometimes I'll get right there and I'm like, okay, I feel it. And then it's like I just get tossed out, just pulled out of it, and it's like, nope, not safe, we're not doing that, or something. And it's just like, and it takes me a while to go back there. And sometimes it's even days before I get to go back.
Okay. So there's an aspect of you that sort of understands why that is, but there is give me a second. Here's what they're showing me, okay?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
You're going in. I want you to visualize, and you probably are like, oh, yeah, that's what it looks like and feels like, or maybe not, but you're going inward, almost like you're going into that void within you, that deep space of where everything resides, right? Deep within you.
Yes.
And you're tapping into all of who you are, right? But I want you to visualize, what does it look like around you? It's almost like you're enclosed, correct?
Yeah, it's real dark. Yeah, it's very dark.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because you're closed. The reason you're closed makes sense, right? Just like the other question we had. There is an unconscious fear. I just want you to feel into this for a second. There's an unconscious fear that if I open, who the heck's going to come in? Okay? So
yeah, I have had some scary experiences, with that, yes. Uh-huh.
Beautiful. So here's what we're going to do going forward. Ready?
Sure.
When you sit down to connect into the higher dimensional families of light, galactic beings, whoever wants to communicate with you, not just your family, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to set the intention, and maybe you're already doing this, but we're going to do it again. You're going to set the intention of a huge amount of light flooding the room you're in, like a guarded gate, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Visualizing it. And then you're going to
Yes.
open up the crown. You want to open up your seventh energy center, okay? So you're going to move into that. You're going to set that space, that gate up full of light. Like, I want you to just be so blinded by the light that you can't even see. And then I want you to move into that voided space, that place you go where you tap into everything and all of who you are and all of who wants to communicate with you, okay? Deep in your body.
Mm-hmm.
From that place, I want you to look up to the top of your head, and I want you to open. And I want you to tap into what it feels like when you start to do that. But I want you, when you start opening that seventh energy center, at the same time, can you feel all the light in the room with you?
I can
How does
feel
this feel?
it in the top. I can feel it in the top. It kind of feels like big sparklers coming out and just kind of coming to my shoulders maybe.
Perfect. It's coming in at least. It's coming in.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Soften at the shoulders. That's okay. You're gonna take your time. Okay? But you want to state, this is what's next for you, and there's so much more that wants to come in and communicate with you.
Oh, yes.
Right? Yeah. So they just need you to
definitely.
open. They need you to open back up like you've done in other lifetimes, and they want to remind you that you're safe in this lifetime to do it, even if you've had experiences in this lifetime where you have not had a fun or light experience. This is a new now, okay? And you are surrounded by so much light that it can't get any brighter around you. You have to intend that. You call that in. You state your sovereignty, that you are safe, that you are held, that only the most high benevolent beings are coming in, and this is your service on the earth plane. You have to do this, right? So you are safe to do this. You have to start opening up your crown, okay? So let go of anything in a past now, and remember, this is your work. So you are safe no matter what. And if anything creeps in, push it outside that field of light.
Okay.
Got it?
Yes. Thank you so much.
Go practice.
Yeah, feels good. I will. Thank you so much.
Deb.
Thanks,
Proclaim
Deb.
your sovereignty.
Yes. Go do that work. For sure.
Thanks for giving me the platform. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Deb. Yeah, that was good. Because I think a lot of people experience what Deb is experiencing or was experiencing, and so that was beautiful. And we just have to affirm, and then I was thinking that in my mind, then it was like, no, proclaim our sovereignty, our freedom, our safety, and beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to take another caller. I'm going to go to a web call from Beaumont, California. Michael, you are live with us.
Oh, hey everybody, how you doing? Hi Lorie, this is Michael.
Oh,
how are you?
No way! Of course you get picked.
Yeah.
He was flashing at me. So.
Oh my God, Terry.
Oh, was I?
Michael
yeah. When I pushed raise my.
Yes, you were shining brightly,
when
Michael.
I put raised hand. Okay. I'll deal with my ego's feeling about that a little later. But what I'm kind of really thinking about, and we talked a little bit earlier in your call there. I was hearing about how to get into neutrality, about all that's going on, and it's real difficult for any light worker or any human, right at the moment. There's a lot of people that even aren't light workers that really want to find some space in neutrality, because that's, of course, where the peace and some of the, the rest is and all of this. But, and then the other part has to do with a little bit of sovereignty. And we were talking about, vaccinations and stuff. And, Lorie would rather eat glass than talk about all that kind of stuff. And I totally get that. And it's one of the things that attracts me to her. But what I was really feeling, I did a guided journey with Lorie just the other day, and we went up on the ships, and she was talking about how important that is. And a couple of years ago, Lorie introduced me to my star family, and I started working with them and started to do all of that. And one of the things that I've had the hardest time with is being able to actually do this through my intentions and my acceptance of it. But then I find myself having to get over this three-dimensional human hump of actually accepting it and actually letting it really be what I know it to be. And, all the while my humanness is screaming in my ear, oh, you're dreaming that up. It's your voice and all the feedback that you get and other things. Because I was standing on the ship when Lorie was guiding everybody up. I shot right up there, and I was hanging out with my, 3 friends that I hang with a lot that are my star family. And I became aware that there was, something going on behind us, because we were looking out the windows of the ship at the Earth, talking about, this isn't the language we were using, but it was kind of like, we were talking about the shit show. It's kind of, excuse the language, that's going on the planet. And I could hear the crowd kind of coming behind, and I turned around, and a couple of us didn't look, and there's Lorie kind of like leading a tour, kind of like a White House tour, sometimes walking forward and talking, sometimes turning around, walking backwards, waving everybody forward and talking to them. And they were walking, and they started kind of going up the stairs and things. And one of the things that I realized in that moment was the only reason I was able to experience that and to be up there on the ship when the rest of the group came up. I know there was others that were up there too already, and they weren't with me, but they were in different parts of the ship, as we were talking to the journey. But one of the things I realized was that I had actually accepted that I can do this, and that it is real, and that it is something that is really, profoundly natural to me. And the only thing that kept me from it, or even a deeper experience of what I'm already doing, was just really accepting it and just allowing it to be. It's almost like allowing reality to be real. And kind of, like I said, that's what I meant by getting over the 3D human hump of having to accept it. So what I'd like is just some more feedback from you guys to the importance of it, or maybe a better way to do it, or how I'm actually seeing it. But when the conversation was being had about, how we feel about things and our sovereignty, and as it was relating to vaccines, I was thinking about the placebo effect, and you can give somebody a sugar pill and tell them it's a miracle, and they'll be miraculously cured. And I was thinking about how that was in reverse, or what we would consider reversed. And that is that somebody can put something in you that the world is telling you is poisonous and will have some kind of effect on you. And if you don't feel that it will, it absolutely will not. And then that translates to everything else in the human experience as well. So those are just kind of my observations. And if you guys have any input on that.
Yeah, Lorie, go right ahead.
Yeah, So, the biggest piece of all of that is compassion, period. So compassion with the way you are navigating as a higher dimensional consciousness in human form, your third dimensional experience. And meaning we don't want to beat ourselves up when we are playing in paradigms that don't feel good. We don't want to beat other people up when they are doing something that we don't like or we don't agree with or that we're seeing differently, right? We want to just hold this compassionate space where it's okay whatever I'm doing, right? It's okay whatever I'm playing in or whatever I'm feeling in. I'm learning how to navigate this as a consciously aware, ascending human. And if I'm in something or playing in something or believing in something and I don't want to be, can I have compassion for myself while I'm in that, right? So every step of the way of our journey, consciously ascending, we are learning how by being, right? And there's no right or wrong. And this learning how to be awake and aware in the midst of all of this unraveling requires massive compassion over and over and over, period. That's it, right?
Yeah.
And it's simple. I mean, it's the easiest way to sort of.
Exactly. And Michael, I want to say thank you for all of your perspectives, because you touched on quite a few things, and we appreciate that. And it goes back to what we were talking about, Lorie, just neutrality, compassionate neutrality is really the key to harmony throughout all of this. What either halts or the flow of harmony, or what generates harmony. And it's unique for everybody. And I'm going to take one more live caller here, and that is area code 484. 484, you're live. Can you hear us? We hear you.
Hello?
Yes, it's you. Hi.
Hi. I was surprised that you picked me. Please, that can't be me, is it?
It is you, my dear. What is your question for Lorie?
Thank you so much. Hi, ladies. I guess I was thinking about a couple of things. One really was being able to let go of my human story. Even everything about me knows I should, but I don't, And the other thing was something that happened in a group of us that get together, and there was a fractal that appeared, and I guess it was about releasing it or moving it or bearing weight to it. And when I asked about it later, when the group was over, the Alpha Centaurians came and thanked me for being a conduit for it. But I left feeling a lot of sadness about it, I guess, as if I had done something wrong, because it brought things up for everyone, and people got emotional. And that brings me back around to letting go of my stuff or always feeling wrong. Does that make sense? So I guess go ahead.
Go ahead. Do you want to finish?
Well, I guess I was just wondering. I really just don't. I think it's about the emotional tie-in that I don't quite understand, and why I felt so wrong about bringing up that heightened emotion in the group. Does that make sense?
Perfect sense.
Yeah.
So they're absolutely tied together, correct? And this is really a beautiful question, because the underlying kind of question is, how do I stand in my sovereignty? Because here's what's going on. You're starting to connect into your frequencies, your abilities, what you're here to do on the earth plane. And you are also allowing and experiencing the human, what you call story, which is basically just an Akashic record that created all these experiences throughout your life that are still stored in your body. Not worthy, people won't listen to you, you don't deserve to speak, lack of self-confidence, it's all your fault, right? All of these stories, right?
Yeah.
So this is all unraveling right now. And what you were shown, and what a gift that the Alpha Centauri thanked you, right? They thanked you, because it takes a huge amount of courage to step into our sovereignty and to say, this is who I am, this is what I'm here to do, even if you don't really realize it yet. So you are opening yourself up to what you're here to do on the earth plane for humanity. And at the exact same time, you are clearing out the denser consciousnesses that you experienced throughout your life based on an Akashic record that you brought in. And you're recognizing it. So first, there's nothing wrong with your human story.
Yeah.
Can you have compassion? This is one of the things that came in this morning for me to share with people, so I'm so grateful that you asked this question. Can we have compassion for our human journey? Because if it wasn't for our human journey, we wouldn't be able to be here to assist humanity.
Mm-hmm.
We are in the fishbowl, and you're going to have all of these things that you're going to have to clear out and see. So instead of looking at it as something that is wrong or bad or not fun because it doesn't necessarily feel great, can you look at it as, wow, that's my human journey. That is a consciousness I am clearing out of my physical body. Those are thoughts and beliefs that I have carried with me because I courageously chose to drop down into human form, and I am now holding higher frequencies in my body, and I'm beginning to step into who I am. Your higher self showed you in that group one of the things that you're capable of doing, which is opening a portal and allowing higher dimensional frequencies to come in and clear and purge the human body.
The purification portal that she was, yes.
Yeah.
What a gift that she was providing.
Super gift, yeah. And we all have those thoughts when we start to step into our work, right? Like, who am I? I can't. I'm not good enough. It's all my fault, or whatever those stories are.
Right.
We've got to just embrace them and let them move through and out of us because you're here to do so much work. What a gift.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I hope that was helpful.
It really was. Thank you.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. Many blessings to you. And I want to say thank you to everybody. We had so many hands up, and to all of you who've written in, thank you for all of your questions and your participation. I'm going to end it up with one question in our webcast that I think is important to address. Kathleen says, why is it important to start becoming familiar with these luminous ones? Is it to develop skills, or is it important for other reasons?
There's a lot of different, great question, Kathleen, beautiful question. When we dropped into the human form as a higher consciousness, wherever it was that we dropped into, we created this kind of team around us that when we started awakening, they would be our co-pilots, reminding us of what we're doing here, reminding us of what we're capable of, reminding us that this is not the end-all, be-all in this third-dimensional matrix, reminding us of how to move deeper into who we are, how to be these higher consciousnesses. They're like our comrades, right, our team. And so when we connect with them, it's connecting deeper into us. So you're actually just moving deeper into who you are, what you're doing in human form, how to see things from a multidimensional perspective, learning other things other than this third-dimensional field, receiving assistance in clearing physical densities out of your body, perhaps, asking questions that you have and receiving the information from a higher perspective, right? So it's like you're having it's like you have these tools around you that make it easier and more graceful to navigate the human journey because you can't escape what is occurring. We can't jump out of it. We got to stand in it, and these beings are here to hold our hands and assist us and remind us over and over and over again.
Yeah, I was just going to use that word. They remind us of our gifts, our sacred gifts, our galactic gifts that we're meant to activate and share at this time. And another beautiful thing that people can do as they begin this dialogue with their families of light is, ask, like you said, ask questions. You can write them down and have it come through you. Once you develop this dialogue, there's nothing that's off limits with regard to your questions or with regard to the kind of support that you need, whether it's emotional, physical, spiritual, financial, whatever it is. There are no limits when connecting with these beautiful your tribe, your
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Wow. Yes. And you feel better doing it. The connection that you cultivate with your family of light will literally lighten you up. That's one of the greatest benefits, because you're going to remember that you're not alone ever, even when and if you're sequestered in your home alone. You'll never feel alone again. That's a benefit. Right?
Absolutely. I mean, listen, like on a personal note, every morning since this whole pandemic happened, every morning I sit and I'm taken up to the Galactic Federation of Light ship, and I sit and I receive that light bath, and even just receiving that, it's like it's like a reprieve. It's like, oh yeah, that's right. There's other things happening here, and it doesn't take away from my irritability or my frustration or my Jesus, I have to wear a mask when I go into the supermarket. Whatever I may feel in my human journey, it doesn't take away from that. But what it does is I am always connected to that other reality, which assists me in seeing everything from a different lens, even when I'm in my human journey. And that is the biggest gift. Because listen, all of you on this call, all of you listening to the replay, you're here to remember that you're not human. You're here to remember that you're a higher consciousness that chose to drop down, and yet you're in the body. You're not going anywhere, and you got to navigate this as you step into these higher dimensional realms, looking out and saying, holy cow, what is all this, right? And so the more assistance that you have and the more ability to shift out of that third dimensional lens, the easier it becomes.
Mm-hmm. Well, and inspiration will flow through you as you are connected to this larger part of yourself and to your family of light. Whether it's through, all these creative outlets, Lorie, whether it's writing, whether it's singing, dancing, art, anything, you will feel inspired, because quite a few people wrote in about feeling passionless, feeling don't have a lot of motivation right now, after being, the quarantine and all of this. And I can absolutely share that if you open up to your family of light, that passion is going to return, and you're going to feel inspired. And it's authentically, organically going to happen. And don't you agree, Lorie? Like it's really helpful in that way.
And the other thing they were showing me as you were speaking, they were showing me that, and even more than that, is that you are held in love. And for those moments that you're in that space with them, there is a feeling of like you are loved. And you feel it, because sometimes we don't love ourselves, right? And it's hard for us to feel what it feels like to love ourselves. And so we get to feel ourselves being loved in a way that is so healing. And in that moment, it's sort of like all is well. All is actually well. And yes, I have my human experience, and yes, I feel unmotivated and not creative, and that's my human journey. But when you sit in that space with them, you get filled back up with who you are, and then you open back up and you're like, oh, okay, all is well. Okay?
It really, really is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I do that every morning, Lorie. I ask, the angelics to wrap myself, my daughter, our home in wings of light. And I also ask to be by the galactic families and the star families and the avatars, and to place me in a cocoon of divine love. So you always feel that with you, and it's so comforting, and it's so, there's so much love there. So there's a multitude of reasons why you would want to connect with your family of light, and it's going to make you feel better. So,
and the other thing it's going to help you do, it's going to assist you at, is that it's going to help you stop beating yourself up. Because when you're with them, they look at you with so much love. They don't care what you're doing. They don't care what you're saying, feeling, being. They don't care. They look at you and say, good freaking job being human. And in that moment, you get to relax and stop fighting your human journey. And that is everything. And even if it's for a moment, it's like, oh, there really isn't anything wrong with me. Mm-hmm. And if you can have that medicine every morning, it'll assist you in not beating yourself up when you journey out in your humanness. Because we beat ourselves up.
Yes, you're so right about that. Because those things, you don't really say those things to yourself when you are in connection with your family of light. There was an affirmation that someone that was on the show recently brought up that is really helpful to say, especially when you bring in your team of light every morning or as often as possible, and that is, I am divine perfection. And as you practice saying that and you can feel this cocoon of love from your family of light, you know, helping you to see that that is absolute truth. You are divine perfection. It's a beautiful thing because you're no longer going to look at yourself in the mirror or judge yourself, and then you're not really going to judge others because you're so neutral about it. You have so much compassion that you're not looking at others as, can you believe they did that, or can you believe, you know what I mean? It doesn't even. It doesn't erupt inside of you in that way. You just look at people with such kindness and love and compassion for whatever they're going through, because different flavors. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, Lorie, when I was writing this morning about having fluidity amongst the flavors, because there are many flavors of choices in the collective right now. And so, you know, wow. Yes. And you reiterate that so often, and it's so important for us to feel empowered. Everything's a choice. And that is at the core of, I would say, every message that you share, Lorie, is about empowerment and sovereignty and choice. And that's why we've always been very aligned in that way. It's like, get excited about that. Get excited that you get to choose what frequencies you want to live in most, dwell in most often. And I say that very deliberately, most often, because we're not going to stay in joy and bliss all the time. And we're not going to, you know.
And the other thing I've been doing recently as I continue to sort of see my life through the lens of these higher dimensional beings is I have humor for the human journey when I am choosing something I don't want to choose. Even though I'm choosing, I'm like, oh my God, look at what I'm choosing right now. You know, and I laugh, and I'm like, you know, and I'll be on the phone with my best friend or my mom, or we'll be together talking, and I'm like, oh, here we go. We're going down the rabbit hole, right? But we're at least observing and finding some sort of humor in the fact that this is my choice and I'm okay choosing to go down this rabbit hole, as opposed to I'm a victim and I don't have a choice and this is being done to me.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
You just have...
It changes the whole dynamic of this experience. You know, because when we feel victimized, or, you know, I can't believe all my rights are being taken away and all of these things are happening and to me, instead flipping that, it makes all the difference in the world with regard to this shift that we are in the midst of. And this shift is not ending right away, so we might as well just glide with it, roll with it, you know, really see it as the opportunity that it is to choose personally how we want to co-create the new earth. And it really doesn't have anything to do with anybody else and how they're doing it.
Well, that's the lesson, right? Because, I mean, that's the practice. That's it. When you are holding and being in this 5D consciousness, you are recognizing that you're not responsible for anyone else. No one else is responsible for you, even though that's difficult, especially if you have children, so it's a little bit of a different dynamic. And when you stand in that space, that's sovereignty. Right? And even the light worker that wants to kind of prove their point or show people the right way, when you realize that you just by being that 5D consciousness as often as you can with compassion and love for yourself and all other humans, regardless of what they're doing, you're showing the way. You're showing the way.
You have to embody it, not prove it. Don't prove it, embody it.
Right. Be it. Show
be
me,
the laughter,
right?
be the joy, be the empowering force that you're here to be. Be the sovereignty. Anytime we're trying to prove or convince someone else, that's stepping out of sovereignty completely.
And it's not honoring free will, which is really challenging to do. I get it, but we have to practice honoring free will. We have to practice that over and over and over again, which is that everybody gets to choose in every now moment how they want to experience their human journey, whether I agree with it or not. And it's not always easy in a lot of different paradigms. I get it. I don't want to argue that, right? So it's hard for people not to kind of want to argue or push, right? And when you get into that space of arguing or pushing a point, you are in a massive force of duality, which is pulling you out of your center, right?
Halting the harmony.
And you just jump back into your center, and you're like, okay, I know what I'm all about, and it's fine, right? I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah,
it really is.
Especially with family right now, Lorie, because a lot of times people are home with their families or even extended families who they may not resonate with on a spiritual or solar consciousness level. And so everybody's making different choices, and I've just found that something I think we said earlier, which is whatever choice brings the greatest comfort and relief to that individual is the best choice for them. And it doesn't have to be the same choice as yours,
Right.
Whatever brings the greatest relief to that individual, that's a good choice for them. And
your family is going to want to argue, perhaps, right? They're going to want to. They might not understand. They might be concerned for you. There might be that combat sort of energy around them, right? And so you just want to notice everything through the experience of energy. So if somebody is like your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your child, whoever, if they're trying to pull you into some sort of experience like an argument or a disagreement, right? You just want to observe. Oh, wow, look at what they're doing. Okay, right? Am I being pulled into it energetically, unconsciously, or am I able to stand and just watch? Oh, wow, look at what's about to play out. Am I going to play in it, or am I not going to play in it, right? Am I going to honor them and honor their fears and their anxiety and their rage? Because here's another thing, you guys, as many of you have noticed, there is a lot of anger out there right now. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of people that don't have any control or certainty around their next moment. And we have to honor that. The people that are yelling and picketing and fighting, we have to honor that. It might not be what we do, but can we see from a bigger perspective, an observing perspective, wow, that's how they're handling this now moment. Not how I am. And I don't have to engage or argue with them, but that is how they are experiencing their now.
Absolutely. Yes. Well, we could probably go on and on and on and on, and I feel like we covered quite a bit, as always, Lorie. And anything else? Well, let's see. What kind of message would you like to leave this community with before we say goodbye?
What's coming through is honoring your human journey, honoring your experiences, honoring what you are going through with the least amount of attachment or labels and the most amount of compassion that you can have, regardless of whether you are drenched in duality, arguing with somebody, or full of light and love and expansion and neutrality. regardless of where you find yourself in your now, can you have compassion and an honoring for this human journey you're on? Over and over and over again. Without an attachment to it. An honoring of it, a compassion for it. In the midst of whatever you're going through, and that you'll continue to go through it, right? Over and over and over and over and over.
Continual compassion.
Yeah.
And honoring, honor. That's a strong word. It's a powerful word that eases the self-judgment.
Yes.
Diffuses
What
it.
if we just honored our journey instead of labeling anything? It doesn't feel good. I get that sometimes. Or this feels better, for sure, right? But what if you just stepped back and honored all of it?
Well, you can breathe a sigh of relief, like, oh, yeah.
Right?
It's all okay.
Oh.
Every wave of everything, every wave of self-criticism or judgment for feeling you did it wrong or you're not doing enough or all of that, you can just breathe a sigh of relief and go, wow, I've done a freaking phenomenal job. I mean,
right. I am rocking this human life. I mean, not everybody wanted to come down and do this.
Yes.
You know, give ourselves a pat on the damn back for what we have gone through.
We're all freaking rock stars, like you said.
We are.
Yes.
We are. I'm telling
Cosmic.
you, this is no joke. We are amazing beings in human form, navigating this so courageously, regardless of how you visualize or imagine your life being. It's been, you have done an amazing job, period. And sometimes that's hard to hold, but that's the truth. We're all rock stars in this big, huge cosmic party we're having.
I was just going to say that. Exactly what she said. Yes, ditto.
And, you know, we're just going to keep moving. We're going to keep moving. We're going to keep holding higher frequencies. We're going to keep learning. We're going to keep loving. We're going to keep expanding. And we're going to have compassion for ourselves as we do it.
Yes.
Because we're not going anywhere. So settle in, guys, because this is why you're here.
Yes.
You got this.
Embrace the adventure, and we're all doing it together. So, Lorie, I love you.
We're all doing it together.
As always.
I love you.
And I love everybody who's joined us. Thank you for hanging with us for almost a couple hours. That's been just been flowing together. So thank you, Lorie. Thank you to everybody. We appreciate you. We so appreciate you and love you. And remember, if you are ready to connect with your family of light, receive the loving support, guidance, inspiration available to you, Lorie's created this beautiful opportunity and special offers, so take advantage of that. And maybe we'll all party together like the rock stars that we are on the galactic ships together.
Yes.
Let's do that. Let's intend for that in a very conscious way. And that is the power of intention and an inspired community like this. We can direct our attention and focus. It's the power of consciousness, the power of choice that we've been speaking about. So we love you. Remember that you are brilliant and resilient, and we appreciate you going on this soulful adventure with us today. I am sending waves and waves of love and light and appreciation from my heart to yours. May you feel it, receive it, offer it to those you encounter today or tonight, wherever you happen to be in the world. And as always, until next time, please give yourself full permission to shine instead of shrink, express instead of suppress, and really own that amazing, powerful, unique glow of yours. I will see you all in this playground of light next time, everybody. Bye-bye.